Dressing up for murder, blood and black lace. The first, the last, the Nerdom with Tom and Mike.
Cocaine. We found it in your friend Estebella's house.
Yes, we did. We found it, and I'm Inspector Silvestri, and we're gonna get hammering here on why you did it. I'm Mike,
I'm Tom.
and this week, as you saw in the our intro there, is we're covering another Giallo. I think this would be the fourth Giallo,
Mm-hmm.
because we've done three of Dario's, and then this is the first non-Dario one that we've done that I picked out,
Mm-hmm.
that I had heard about, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious to hear your opinion on your thoughts on this particular guy. But before we get to the main event, and I also wanted to do a little bit of plugging here for our stuff. Thomas and I are always excited, and shout out to Tom. He made our first short. I attempted it. I did a very poor job, but he nailed it. So go check that out if you want to see what that's about. Little hint might be something to do with media. But yeah,
Yep.
as we see here, we are very happy to see all the feedback that we've got. We've got a big jump. We were at 222. I think we lost one, but that's okay. That's kind of the name of the game. They're going to fall. They used to fall off before we had the big jump. But if you're curious about that, where we broke open, where Manga Batman, where we had a special guest, Jay, where we covered a very interesting take on Batman. But and of course, last week we did Young Frankenstein. That was really fun to do. To get a chance to do Mel Brooks. I know he's one of your favorites and one of mine too, and it is always a classic. Um,
Yeah.
and also if you could comment, like, subscribe, we'd love to hear your feedback, etc. But before we get too crazy into this week's video, Tom, what were your thoughts? I've been dying to know. Did you see this prior to us? Because we'll come up with ideas for the show and we'll pass it back and forth in chats, and sometimes we'll talk a little bit more around it or in depth. Sometimes, most of the time, it's just how about this one, and we kind of went from there. What did you think?
Yeah, it was interesting. I'd hadn't seen this one before. I had seen a couple of Mario Bava movies a long while back. Like I did, I saw um, Bloody Sabbath, but yeah, I hadn't seen this one yet. They said it's the first. Well, some people say it's the first Giallo, but yeah, it's up for debate. It maybe doesn't tick every single one of the boxes, but it's definitely fits in the vein of a Giallo.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's the one thing that is very interesting. We'll put this guy up here. Yeah, there we go. All right, cool. On the fly here. But actually, I'll just go ahead and turn on our actually, yeah, no, I can keep that in the yeah. Well, that's cool. Neat little cool setup there. Yeah, sorry, I got to bring up the what we're talking about here on IMDb. Black and Bloodless. Yeah, so I did include in this little setup here for the links that we have out. I also kind of did like a little what is a giallo to kind of explain, and I know you kind of explained it before to the audience,
Hmm.
what that means, and I have just like Collider has a very generic description. I'd like to hear your take on what the Thomas take is on what you consider a giallo, because there is a little bit of debate. It's not a clearly defined border type thing.
Yeah.
It is something that is opinion based. I've heard, like the heyday was, it was from like 1968 or something like that to 1979, whatever. And the heyday was around 1974, something like, I don't know, whatever. But what was your thinking? How did you see this Giallo as
Yeah,
you watched it? What were your thoughts?
it's yeah, it was made in what was 63, 64. It's
Yeah.
very much of its time as far as the music and everything. But yeah, so basically Giallo is sort of like Italians slasher movies. It's more uh, the killings are a little bit more grandiose, and yeah, this always has kind of a murder mystery to it.
Right, right.
You never know who the killer actually is until the end of it, and then there's usually a twist involved, so it kind of sets it all up. There's no amateur detective in this, which most of them tend to have.
Yeah, and there wasn't like the other ones that we saw. There's the character. One of the characters is always kind of thrust into the situation, like with the couple of the Dario flicks that we saw, where there was a writer of some kind, novelist, and they kind of go from there, and they kind of start going into and investigating this strange thing that happens to them or that they're loosely a part of. But this one is a little bit different, and it was just interesting to see how a different take could be. Now, do you consider this a Giallo in your esteemed opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I'm no Giallo expert. I would leave that up
Right,
to someone else. But yeah, I mean, it kind of, like I said, it kind of ticks the boxes of a Giallo. And then Giallo is the word yellow in Italian, and it
right,
got its name from the cheap paperback books that they used to write that inspired the movies as well. They were kind of racy, had a killer in it, and there is usually sexually fueled, so but yeah,
right. They don't pull any
yeah,
punches.
right, the big company that would put out the books always had yellow covers, so it became synonymous. Giallo was the word yellow, and that sort of kind of stuck. So anytime they're talking about this type of movie, they
Right,
call it Giallo.
right. Yeah, no, I caught that. Caught the well, Agatha Christie novels are they definitely they started as that as inspiration, and then they kind of turned into their own genre,
Hmm.
as it were. And in this particular one, you don't necessarily see the killer right away. And I mean, it's a little bit older movie, but you see this sinister character. They don't take too long. And this did remind me, although it didn't have Dario's style, but there was definitely liberal uses of color
Hmm.
and so with some of my notes. The Mario. This is the first Mario Bava movie I've seen as well. But it's striking in color and lighting. This has that in spades. It also has its own kind of unique color scheme that it kind of likes to return to, so to speak. As you go through it, this is what the film was. It was. I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it a little bit different than a Dario Argento film. And how many times can you say Dario Argento?
Hmm.
But it turns out that it's not just one, thing. You kind of, I guess, everybody is kind of guilty in this one, which was interesting. I don't know what your thoughts on like how is that kind of like a base thing for Giallo, like to be motivated by some kind of external fear or paranoia, to kind of drive you kind of somebody's out to get you that kind of thing.
It just kind of adds to the mix, where no one's safe, but no one's innocent either. So,
Right, right.
but no, yeah, and you can see where Dario was maybe influenced a little bit with this movie, with all its garish colors and yeah, the kind of overtopness. No, one of the things I noticed is like everybody had these really expansive apartments or houses. They're all living pretty large. You can understand maybe the fashion designers that are involved in the movie. It takes place in a kind of a fashion house, but you would think that some of the lowly models wouldn't have such beautiful, lush houses or apartments. But I guess everybody wasn't too doing too bad. Also, the I like the look of the killer or killers. The I don't know. Actually, I didn't meant to look, but the getup for the killer looked much like the Question from DC comic books.
Yep.
Uh, That's one of the things I noticed in that character. Looks like he was created in '67, so it was after the movie. So maybe it just kind of happened synchronistically, or
Yeah, that it would be interesting because it definitely maybe it inspired some. I'm not sure, but it definitely that's the other thing too. I like that in all these movies you definitely know what city you're in and what country, which is obviously Italy. But you for one thing, these people are high rollers. Just looking at all their houses, that and they have a lot of roommates. And people were like really scared of the dark back then too. Well, especially that one gal that just freaked. She just flipped out. When they were all kind of all the men were kind of for the studio. I guess is what they called it, the art studio or fashion house, whatever.
Mhm.
That studio, like where they make fashion, high fashion, I guess. That the men are rounded up by the police, and they kind of go off to this other part, and then they're all the female women workers are all there with the boss. I'm trying to think of her name, but it's not Greta. But I think it was Greta. I think the character's name was Greta. But anyway, um, uh, oh yeah, yeah. Oh, a good one. Yeah, let me bring that guy up here. Okay, so this is what you were looking at.
Yeah, that was the
Okay,
question. The question is the character. He's created by Steve Ditko, but he's got like kind of a faceless look to him in a suit,
right.
and that's obviously what this
That's exactly
killer. Yeah,
that's exactly it. Yeah, other than the tie and the thing,
yeah.
the adornment there, but that's because he's actually wearing a suit.
Hmm.
Whereas this one is like kind of, I guess, trench coat. I guess I don't know. Like I guess a
Yeah.
generic, bad man. But it's very clear. And the one thing, I actually watched this with my daughter, and the one thing I noticed was, we were kind of joking about it. I was like, hey, they're wearing a coat and a thing that you would be hard pressed to see unless you saw like a scale shot or something like that to see stature.
Hmm.
But everybody's kind of sneaking around. It's all, and the action is all very up close. They don't hardly ever kind of zoom out. They did kind of in one part, like where the killer is stalking somebody who sets it up for like they have this scene a lot. They reuse you're home alone and some noise happens and you go check it out. And, it's very key jingling a little bit. But it was very interesting. And something that it's just kind of a different way of seeing how the movie unfolds. And it was graphic, but I mean, all in all, it was pretty tame compared to like what we've seen from others. Of course, this is the earliest version of it, of the genre, so it's going to be a little bit probably not as groundbreaking as close up as you get to some of the brutality. I mean, it shows some for sure. Like they have the slow, like literally you're going to die kind of. They show that a couple times, like the death of the very final thing they see, kind of morbidly, and they take their time on that. I think that's for effect. But what were your thoughts on how they set it up? And I mean, for the ones that you're used to seeing, are you used to seeing like I guess resolution, or is it kind of like, I don't know, you bring your own?
Yeah, it's sort of like it's different in that you don't have a central protagonist. It's like once you start focusing on another person, they usually end up dead in this movie. So any you can't really get attached to anybody because they'll end up because you're first introduced to Isabella, who gets killed off. She's the first victim,
Right.
and you really don't know. There's she gets killed off. There's she left a diary
Hmm.
that the killer seems to be after. You don't know why. There's must be some type of scandal, but why is that killer killing other people? Everybody, all the men seemed a little suspicious, so you don't
Mm-hmm.
really, unless it's and then the inspector guy. He's not as bumbling as previous Giallo movie detectives. He's kind of has to be somewhat on the ball. for there to be someone competent in this movie. But yeah, everybody that you start gravitating to that seems like a protagonist in the movie ends up dead or it's a suspect. So yeah, it's kind of interesting in that aspect. You don't have like you said, kind of amateur detective trying to figure out what's going on. A lot of times they're just trying to survive and not get killed by the killer.
Right. Yeah. No. And that's and the killing. I don't think it's as it kind of takes its time. You don't have to wait long for the plot to kick off. But yeah, this diary is kind of passed around, and you kind of you learn that all these people they all have something. They always some kind of either somebody's blackmailing somebody else, or somebody's into drugs, or has a habit, or somebody owes money, or something like this. I mean, that it really does coil up everybody. And I won't tell you, but I was satisfied with how it ended. I mean, I'm not sure how hardcore fans are out there, folks are out there for the for Murder She Wrote kind of type thing. These are not that kind of story. It's a quite a bit different, and the effects were good. I think it held up well. Did you see it on streaming, or did you see it on physical media?
Um, I would have liked to maybe have gotten this, but it came out on in by Arrow Films on Blu-ray back in 2015, but
Okay.
they've sold out of it, so I wasn't able to
Oh, right, right,
get
right,
a
right. Yeah.
physical media. So I usually stream on Tubi if a bunch of the free ones have it.
Right.
It was on Tubi, but I tried it out on Plex, and I think that's the last time I'll ever watch anything on Plex. Plex is pretty garbage if you're watching it on TV
What
because
happened? What they do?
uh, commercials every 10 minutes,
Oh
two
no.
to 2 to 3 minute long commercials. Tubi does have commercials, but they're a lot less egregious with it.
Mm.
There's usually like 3 or 4 spots where they stop, and it's only like for a minute and a half. So yeah, with Plex, it was like a minimum of 2 minutes. More than likely, it was 3 minutes of commercials, and it's like almost every 10 minutes it would stop for commercials. So I
That's
don't
not
think
good.
I don't think I'll go back to Plex unless I just absolutely have to watch it on there, and then I might be getting an ad blocker and watching it on
No, I don't blame you
a
at all.
computer on the computer or something. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's not a very good back in the day if you had to watch something on cable, that's how you had to watch it. But now that there's choices, there's ways around it.
They're well, obviously, yeah, but yeah, no, I ended up got it off of Amazon because it was like $5, and I was like, all
Yeah,
right, whatever. And
yeah.
the streaming quality was fine. I
Mhm.
did go back after the fact and download it by other means, but it was a little bit better quality than the streaming. But I had some. I actually watched it with the Italian and then the subtitles in English. Obviously, you can hear what's going on. I did watch. Tried to watch the with the English dub, and it was okay. But I was like, wait, why am I watching this in English when I can? The point is, it's kind of that's kind of the blend of it. I kind of want to see how they did,
Well,
how they.
that's the thing with most Italian movies, they're all dubbed
Mm,
because as Mario does like a lot of the other people filmmakers do in Italy. They don't record the live sound, or they're the live sound that they record isn't usable because there's a bunch of they don't have a quiet set. They all the grips and whatever they're working while you're filming. So
right.
none of it's good enough to be used in. So it's all dubbed. They go back and dubbed it. And in fact, I think I was reading where I think yeah, like the English dub. One guy did most of the guy parts in the movie, so that even though some of the actors do speak English, and that's another thing, a lot of the Italian movies have international casts. So, and I think this was
Very
made.
international.
Yeah, this was made with French and German money as well. So yeah, they had a mix of those actors. So, and I think one of the actresses helped translate a lot of the dialogue into English for
Yeah,
the for the
yeah.
English version of it.
Mary Arden, I believe, is yeah, I read that as well. This is Mary Arden. And unfortunately, she passed in 2014. But the other thing I was going to say is like I mean, I didn't recognize any of these names because I'm not even going to pretend like I did because like they
Hmm.
were all, I have no idea who these people were. Same thing for the male actors. But in any case, uh, like my God, like they had they filled the house. Safe to say that all these women were amazingly gorgeous. Like just, and that's kind of the world that you're in anyway. With this, they're all very very beautiful, very voluptuous, very there. And then kind of the working theory, I guess, is that which is kind of makes sense, like from the cop's perspective. Yeah, and like you were saying, he's not a Keystone Cop. It's not a bumbling cop at all. It's actually
Hmm.
very competent, if anything. As a matter of fact, even the police comment on how they got in the way for this. If you know what I'm talking about, because they gave him a cold hard alibi that was irrefutable with all the males of the fashion house being detained at the police station. And you kind of it also doles out little kind of clues that only the audiences and it's kind of like a wink and a nod. And you're like, wait a second, how does this work? And then until you find out, kind of it's a team effort, I guess. And not a very good team either. It's kind of like trying to hold up a tent with only one pole. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, one of the male actors kind of reminded me of Peter Lorre, that the heavier set guy there in the middle.
Oh yeah, another yeah.
He kind of had Peter Lorre vibes, and he was
Interesting.
kind of interesting. Yeah, all of them. One of the things I noticed is like everybody in this movie had a distinctive look. A lot of times with movies, you got a lot of the sameness. A lot of the guys look the same, but all of these were really interesting characters, and they all had their own looks to them. And
They
when you
did.
have a big cast like this with a lot of moving parts and different characters that maybe don't get a lot of screen time, it's kind of imperative that you separate them out, and
Right.
that just visually they look quite distinct. So it's kind of keeps them separated in your mind as you're trying to follow the plot to
Yeah,
this.
and it certainly is racy. I would say. I wouldn't say that well, probably back then it was probably. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that in 1964 there wasn't a more gratuitously, more done movie around that time. But I mean, all in all, it's. I mean, well, compared to today's standards, but the one thing that I was also thinking about too, when this movie was, if you take it for you don't get too crazy, but if you accept that this is modern day to them in 1964 63 whatever, this is the world that they're in. Italy, you got to remember 20 years before, like Italy was in a good chunk of Italy was worn down from World War II. So if this was done in 64 or 64 63, that would have been 44 43, like where Italy also had a dictator. And so life is completely different. So I kind of tried. I was thinking about that when I was watching this because you see echoes of that in like some of the vehicles. Some of the vehicles that they have that they show on screen are a little bit older than, say like what you'd see in 60s or even the 50s. And it seems to me like that some of the characters are kind of they're the standard role of this is what a man does and this is what a woman does. That kind of dichotomy is kind of, I think, flipped around a little bit. You can kind of see it through the characters. Like you do see characters, typically, back then, you they would call women, the more meek, more small, diminutive type personality or I guess association for those times. So it was very head turning when a female was, the owner of a company or something like that, through whatever. But where am I going with this? Anyway, like, yeah, they show a couple of that with a couple of the characters. Like this, just one woman is just like, she's just out of her mind. She doesn't want to be. She doesn't want to go home alone. She's afraid of the dark. But it's funny because you see that they chase that role around, as you see the story unfold, and you see, oh, it's not just this woman is just, this model is just pretty, nice to pretty look at, whatever. It's out there, and they kind of they swap that around, and I like that. It kept the story fresh. I just thought that was it. Like, anyways, if that were done nowadays, it would have been handled completely different, in my opinion. But as I rant, as I'm wont to do, to rant on the difference between this and a modern movie, is very telling. I don't think they would have screwed this up in a different kind of way, in my opinion. But you get these kind of role reversals of the characters, and you kind of see it comes to a head, and it's very interesting how it kind of wraps itself up. But some of these are I had to stop a couple times and rewatch a few scenes to follow along, because it was listening to it in Italian, but reading the text, and I might have missed something, so I had to rewind it and see what I missed, because it does kind of go, it jumped a couple times, and I wasn't, not that I wasn't tracking, but I did miss a part. I read after this that they dealt with something along the lines of a miscarriage or something like that. I didn't really catch that in my watch through of it. I don't know if you did or not, or if my notes are just bad for that part. But you can, and I also had my notes too, that the budget constraints were out there. I guess this had been lower budget than Mario. How do you say his last name? Bava's.
Bava, yeah.
Yeah, Bava's one before this one, which was also a horror film.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, some of the actors didn't ever get paid for this movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot of them, the smarter ones, asked for their money up front and got it, and then some of them that go, oh, well, I'll get paid eventually, didn't ever get paid. So, yeah, I know. Yeah, I think his two previous movies were done with a different company, and this company, I guess, didn't financially keep after themselves as well as the other movies. But yeah, it's outside that, there's the stories that comes at a fast clip. Yeah, it's only an hour and 20 some odd minute movie, 26 I think. And so yeah, it doesn't linger on anything. It doesn't
20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't it uses its time quick. Wisely. Yeah, it doesn't linger on different things, and if you don't pick it up, you don't pick it up. It's it's interesting because a lot of the movies from the 60s likes to take their time, and especially foreign movies, a lot of times the American cut of it was a lot shorter. But yeah, this movie isn't a long movie. There really isn't anything you can cut out to make it quicker, because it is a very quick movie to get through. Like I said, you don't really have a traditional protagonist. I mean, the inspector's probably the only one that really follows all the way through. The people you think are going to be the protagonists end up dead because the killers killed them. So yeah, you're left with a lot of the people that are usually background characters but they get pushed in the forefront because they're who you suspect are possibly the killer. And it has an interesting take on why the killers are killing people. It's kind of it ends up being sort of like a happenstance. They only really wanted to kill one person, and it ends up having a kind of it's like once you start killing, sometimes you get stuck in an endless loop.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I was going to say it just starts a snowball of murder, a murder snowball that just keeps like, hey, we got this one problem. Oh, let's kill him. I can't think of there's like a cartoon character or whatever. Like, or maybe it was a Rick and Morty episode, like oh boy, I can't wait to get murdering, or something like that. I can't remember, but that's pretty much the answer to like, oh, the clock isn't working. Oh, well, let's murder. Or the sign fell down. Actually, the sign fell down. Let's go murder. Let's start murdering. That's funny. Yeah, they are. They get to they do fast pace. Um, yeah, Christian. I'm not gonna couture fashion hot couture. My horrible pronunciation. Blackmail, backstabbing, drug deals, murder. It's got it all. Like you kind of get this kind of they're kind of chasing around this diary that they find, and then that was actually kind of an interesting shock or surprise to kind of go in and see that. I'm gonna back out of this because it's just movie posters. But in any case,
Yeah, it has a fun title. I like Blood and Blacklace. It kind of invokes interesting imagery in your head, you know. But yeah, it's a cool title. It's yeah, it's one of those movies that kind of sticks with you. It's not your it's doesn't take the easy way out in things. It's tells an interesting and engaging story in a different way, and it could be kind of a cultural thing or not. That's one of the reasons why I like watching movies from a different places, because you know it's fun to see how people tell a story. You know, there's usually kind of a unique take depending on where it's coming from. So, what would be kind of a standard by the numbers mystery, gory mystery story in America, it becomes kind of an interesting, culturally fascinating kind of tell when it's when you're looking at it through Italian eyes.
Yeah, no, it worked for me. The cinematography is a little bit different. He uses color very well, lighting, same thing. They even have broad daylight episodes or scenes too, which kind of was interesting. I thought they were all just gonna be at night, but he's not afraid to play around with the lighting and flip it up completely opposite, turn the lights on, so to speak.
Yeah.
There's definitely an aspect of the dark as a character, kind of sort of like most of the murders take place in like the lights go out or the power goes off, or something like there's something dramatic, and then it kind of goes from there, or somebody's turning the lights off, or the killer turns the lights off. If they were on,
Yeah.
he turns them off, which is
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, and if the kills are a little kind of schizophrenic, or are different from kill to kill,
Hmm.
at least with this story, it makes sense that would be the case. And there's one scene towards the end where they're messing around with the corpse of one of the people they killed, and I noticed they stood the person up for some
Oh
reason, and
yeah,
then have him fall over on the next victim that they wanted to kill, and it's like, okay,
right.
what was the point of that?
Yeah, that was, yeah, I didn't get that, but yeah, it was just interesting. Like it's kind of like a cat playing with its food,
Hmm.
play with its kill, kind of like this is. Yeah, it's also
Hmm.
the only thing, that one gal that was deathly afraid of going home because she lived out in the country or something like that, or
Hmm.
some rustic place. It's like out in the middle of nowhere. Probably be super creepy if you were living there alone. It's like,
Hmm.
hold on, wait a second. You're afraid of the dark, but I'm not really spoiling anything, but you can drag this dead body that you had nothing to do with into your house like that.
Yeah,
But
they're
I
all
mean,
very concerned about alibis.
yeah, no, they are very much so. But at the same
Yeah.
time, too, if you're in a if you're really scared and you're paranoid, you're going to do some dumb things that don't make any sense in the moment. So I guess you can't really pick it apart too much, but it worked. I liked it. It was pretty short. I'm not sure. I think we're come. I mean, I'm not sure what else there is to say. I think it is a giallo. I really like the lighting. The acting was all great. I don't have any qualms with this. Like, you know, it's such a short investment of time compared to, it's not 3 hours long. And they get to the point pretty quick, which I appreciate. There's good pacing. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Did you get bored at all during this, or did you really enjoy this compared to like what you've seen, or what you prefer? I guess you probably have your own taste.
During the commercials, I was bored, but yeah, but when I was actually watching the movie, it was engaging. But yeah, it has a very unique visual style to it, and yeah, like I said, the killer was kind of interesting to look at and trying to figure out what's going on with them, and then there was a lot of I know that there's two um, opening credit scenes. There was two different. One was filmed for America. I know one of them has like a kind of a fashion show going on, and
Mm-hmm.
then I think the one filmed for America has a lot of dummies that it would focus in on, and
Mm.
kind of plays against human characters that are also looking like statuettes as well. I think that's the one that I saw. The had the intro for. So, but yeah, the whole thing with the red mannequins were kind of kind of engaging. I've never seen a red mannequin before.
No,
I don't
neither have
know,
I.
I don't
Yeah.
know if that's sort of done for this movie or if there's a lot of red mannequins in Italy. But yeah, it's kind of interesting visually. It almost has kind of a gothic look to it, even though it takes place in the 60s. I don't know if that was intentional. Also, the music was very much of its time. It's kind of got that 60s bombastic flair to it that does a kind of great, kind of um, not pleasant to my ears, but I know
Yeah.
some people really dig it.
Yeah, I wasn't annoyed by it, but I did notice too, like during the fashion scene, like I noticed the music was very much like any movie that you've ever seen in the 40s or the 50s or whatever, black and white, 30s even. There's like they don't really have a lot of technology going on back then to show a scene, so like they got kind of ham it up pretty hard on the music, and that standard kind of classical waltzy type, type. I don't know, it's a different vibe, but like it's interesting. Yeah, I I think I do. I think I probably do would prefer more 70s flair for music. That you say that. Although
Right.
but at the same time, nothing. The music to me really, other than that one scene that for whatever reason I fixated on, for the scene like where they're kind of the fashion shows going on, and all these models or whatever, and they're
Mhm.
kind of going in and out. That it stuck out, but I don't really remember too much. Like it didn't really stick out one way or another for me. But the lighting, the scene, the acting, the some of the situations they put themselves in are just like you could believe it. Like these people are so shallow. They're not very smart when it comes to. It just seems like when it comes to base motivation, like they are just like practically animals,
Mhm. Yeah.
practically practically there.
Yeah, and
But
I think that's kind of smart in their decision not to focus too much on the characters and their motivations because
right.
they're all kind of creepy, like the guy with this cocaine. That's just kind of thrown in. I threw it at the beginning because it's kind of a funny line, but
Right.
yeah, that's sort of a plot line that doesn't even go anywhere. I mean, the
Mm-mm.
drug part of it was just part of the scene, I guess.
With speed bump, really.
Yeah,
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 this is kind of like kind of reminded me a little bit like a it's not a Quentin Tarantino film, but it's very like the characters anyway. The characters are all screwed up, and they all have some kind of flaw, or they make some kind of mistake or whatever, and they keep going. It's kind of like if this were like very low light pressure, like maybe flag football, like a cast of characters that Quentin Tarantino could, although his are much more richer and deeper.
yeah.
This one doesn't. It's just very light on the character side.
Mhm.
But you do get a strong pull towards certain people that are on screen, like Eva Bartok. Like whenever she's on the screen, she just kind of you just, I don't know about you, but like when some of these people were on the screen, you just kind of gravitate toward them and you kind of like look up and pay attention. It definitely stood out to me. And I like, it's a good time. It's a good fun time. You will not be wasting your time by watching this, or even if this is like, if I think this would be a very good first swing, although I would probably say, I mean, I don't hardly know anything about these other than what I like. What I've seen 4 of them. It kind of had hints that it kind of reminded me of other ones that we've seen, with Suspiria a little bit, and not so much some other ones, but in any case, it works. It works. I was happy to see it. Do you have anything else to add? I think we're kind of got this one tapped out, or mined out, so to speak, unless you had anything you wanted to cover.
Yeah, I think I was kind of going over my notes. I think that's all the things that I had. Yeah, yeah. Everybody had like a creepy house, big house. Music. Everybody was smoking. I noticed that.
Yep, very much 60s.
Very much 60s movie. Everybody smokes.
Everybody's smoking. Yeah.
But yeah, it's also the idea that a lot of times with a mystery, the motivation. A lot of times it's that person you never suspected, because they don't have anything outwardly wrong. There's some like hidden motivation.
Right.
Whereas this movie kind of plays with the opposite. Where there's not enough suspects that are. This one has overabundance of suspects. So just about everybody has a motivation. So they're all kind of creepy and
it's noisy and messy and chaotic on purpose, and you get that comes through the screen. You these people are just very base on some of the things that they do. I wish we could play a clip of it, but it just doesn't work that way, and the way it goes. But go check this out. I guess the only thing we really didn't talk about was like 7 out of 10 for the IMDb rating, which typically, as you've said, if it's a horror movie, it's going to get rated a little bit lower. Even if it's really good for a horror movie, it's going to rate a little bit lower, generally speaking. This one, I think that's about up there. I enjoyed it. I would love that. I don't know that I would have ever come across this movie before had I not learned about horror, and there's just, it's a very this one isn't really noir like, in my opinion, like other ones that are more clear cut in that genre, that I can say, I can see the fingerprints of a noir type feeling or vibe or whatever. They definitely hit the stride with the such an iconic outfit for the killer. And that kind of becomes like the I guess the signature of it, for lack of anything else. But I think we're coming up here on the end of this one. Before we go, check out Tom on Twitter, on our official first-last-the-Nerdom. Give a shout out to him. He always drops a little bit of extra Easter eggs once in a while. And also, if you could also like, comment, and subscribe, go subscribe to our channel. We really like it. And the one thing I didn't say this week, at the beginning of the show, was, if you want a first row seat, best way to do that is to subscribe, and you'll always get, whether it's Tom making our short here, or talking about the Book of the Fallen. Also, check that out. But we actually have a pretty special couple weeks coming up here, don't we?
Yeah. And I was also going to say, I wasn't sure how our shorts would do, but the short I threw out there had quite a few views, so I might, I try to do go to the comic book shop every week or two, so cool. I could always do a drop of what I pick up as a quick little short, because it's not a lot of times it's not enough to do a whole video on, so. The shorts would probably work best for that. So anytime we pick up something kind of cool, we probably want to get in the habit of making a little short, kind of spotlighting it. Yeah, and like I said, this next week we'll be talking about an anime from that's going to be on Adult Swim.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you have the name of it? I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, I'll filibuster here, but we'll have our special guest Jay back. And actually, yeah, I actually have it here. Actually, I have it right here. I kept it in my folder here for. So we're semi. It is oh god, Kamai, Ninja Kamai. Oh, actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and click on it, and the audience can see. Nice, big and large. Kamui. That's how I would say it anyway. And apologize if I butchered that, but yeah, we're. I don't know about you, but I am definitely. Well, it's already out for one. It's already out. So we'll be able to see at least the first episode or so. And I don't know if you have seen the trailer, but I've actually watched the trailer a couple times with Justin or Jay, excuse me, and on my own. And I really like it. I'm really curious to see if it'll be good or not. But that'll be next week. And then did you want to say anything about the week after that or no?
Could be 80s related.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
More
Yeah.
likely.
These.
So yeah. We may have a special guest. So yeah, we'll see a lot of exciting things. Like I said, the year 2024 is going to be a great year for us. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And bring us up here. And I think that's good. And actually, I'll turn off the thing. Actually, we'll go out here. But yeah, if you made it this far, we really do appreciate it. We are always kind of hopping and jumping around here, and we're about 40. We were done in about 40 minutes here, and we did about 5 minutes of plugging, so that's okay. A little chit chat. But I've been Mike.
and I'm Tom.
Dressing Up for Murder, Blood and Black Lace, 1964. The First, the Last.